Welcome back to the EJ Ward FuelView training series. In this video, we're going to be going over how to add and change your vehicles. To start out, we need to go down to the Asset Management folder and drop that down and then go to the Vehicles section here, or the Vehicles page. Once the vehicle page loads, to add a vehicle, all we have to do is click on Add Record, and a blank vehicle record will come up. So up at the top, we have our vehicle template, and it works just like the employee templates, but we can make a template, and we'll go over that in a later video, to where we can put all the non-unique information and just fill it out really quickly and when we apply it, rather than having to input it in over and over and over again. We're going to go ahead and fill out this vehicle by hand and go over every section of it, so we're not going to do that for this one. Underneath identification, we have our vehicle number, which needs to be a unique number, and it has to be a maximum of 10 characters, but they can be alphanumeric. We have our agency vehicle code, which is a maximum of 30 characters, and this one does need to be unique as well, and it can be alphanumeric. We have the year. We have our VIN number, which of course a VIN number needs to be a maximum of 17 characters, and it does need to be unique. We have our make, our model, and then on the right-hand side, we have our fueling status. So the fueling status, if you want this vehicle to fuel inside of your system, must be checked. Then we have our vehicle type. We have our department. We have our license plate number. If you want to put a license plate number in there, that's an optional field. And then we have our district if you want to put a district on here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out this section for my vehicle. So in this one, this is a way that we can assign a vehicle type, and we'll be going over the vehicle types in another video. So we can just drop down and select the vehicle type that we have. So this one's going to be a light duty. And then we can drop down and put it into our training department. We'll also go ahead and put this in the training district as well. I don't have the VIN right now, and that's something that we can put in later. You can always come back and add stuff to the vehicle record if you want. We just have to have the things that have the star next to them, and those are our default fields that we have to be able to save a record. Below that information, we have our vehicle status. Our vehicle status needs to be checked if you want the vehicle to be in the system and to be visible in reports and be able to fuel. And then below that, we have our restrictions and readings. So the first thing that we have is off-road. This is just a percentage that you can put so it comes up in reports of if this vehicle is an off-road vehicle and what the percentage of it uses off-road. We have our max distance. The max distance is the maximum allowed odometer jump. The easiest way to put it is this goes with our verify odometer. So if we have a verify odometer and we have it drop down here and we have it set to prompt and validate, or validate strictly, it's going to take your odometer, and let's say our odometer is 0 on this guy, and your maximum distance is 500. So I can fuel from anywhere from my odometer being 1 mile all the way up to 500. If I go above 500, it's going to pull an error at the terminal, and depending on my verify odometer settings, it might not let me fuel. So the way the verify odometer setting works is if there's no prompt, it's not going to ask them for an odometer at all. If we have it set to prompt, it's going to ask for an odometer, and it'll take whatever we put in there. So I could put in 5555 every time I fuel, and my odometer will keep it that. Prompt and validate will validate against the maximum distance, but if I put the same odometer in twice, so let's say I go and I fuel outside into a Shell station or something like that, and then come back into the system, and my odometer is now 505. So if I put in 505, the terminal is going to ask me for the odometer again, and if I put in 505 again, it's going to save that odometer. If I put in a different number the second time, it's going to give me a mileage entry error, and it will not let me fuel. Validate strictly will not allow you to fuel if you are outside of that maximum distance at all. So it's going to tell you right off the bat a mileage entry error and not let you fuel. So typically, if they're doing an odometer prompting and they don't have a CAN receiver which automatically gives the odometer, I asked them to go ahead, and it's probably a safe idea to do prompt and validate if you really want to get the odometers correct. If you don't care what the odometers are, you can do no prompt or prompt. Validate strictly can cause some problems if you have people fueling outside on emergency cases and coming back in, because it's not going to allow them to fuel until they put in an odometer reading that is between the current odometer in the system and with the added max distance or any number in between that. So below that one, we have our max visits on the left-hand side, and this is how many visits you can have within a 24-hour period. So how many fuelings can you do within a 24-hour period? And in most of these, 0 equals unlimited. So off-road is the only one really that doesn't in this area. So off-road, it's just a percentage. So 0 is, it's not an off-road vehicle. You can put 100 and it's an off-road vehicle 100% of the time. Max distance, if we kept that at 0, I could go 5,000 miles and have my odometer jump for 5,000 miles and it's fine. With that, the verify odometer, you probably just want to set it to prompt because it's not going to verify off of anything at that point. So we're going to keep this guy at 500. So we have our max visits. Max visits 0 means unlimited visits. If we put anything into this, so let's say we had 5 max visits a day, our remaining visits as we start fueling will show how many remaining visits that you have throughout that day. And then it will reset each day. Whenever the next day comes in and they fuel again, it's going to reset up to 5 each 24-hour period. To the right of that, we have our hour meter. So if this vehicle or asset is using an hour meter, we can put that hour meter reading in there. And then we have our odometer reading. So this is going to be the initial odometer for the vehicle. Below that, we have an odometer or hour meter offset. So this is an hour meter offset. You only need to do this if an EJ Ward technician tells you. It basically offsets the hour meter. If the hour meter is reading a little different, or if it's a different type of hour meter, we can set that. But I would say about 99% of the time, you aren't going to set that at all. Same thing with the odometer offset, does the same exact thing. If it's pulling from multiple ECMs inside of the vehicle and the odometer is a little bit off, but it's constantly a little bit off, you can put that offset in there. But 99% of the time, you're not going to need to do that. And then at the bottom, we have require hour meter. So if we click on this and check this box, it basically takes the verify odometer and acts like an hour meter, a verify hour meter at that point. It does the same thing. The maximum distance is basically your maximum hours, and your your hour meter is going to be asked for instead of the odometer when they fuel. But this vehicle doesn't use an hour meter, so I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that, and we'll keep that at odometer. And then below that, we have our CANSEVER information. So this goes for our Ward 4 CANSEVERs mainly. Our Ward 3 CANSEVERs, you can put this information in there, but you don't have to. With the Ward 4 CANSEVER, we can check on it has CANSEVER. This is just for reporting purposes. So if you're reporting on a vehicle, it can tell you if you have a CANSEVER or not. The CANSEVER ID is automatically going to be put into the system. So the way a Ward 4 CANSEVER works is it talks to the server directly. And when you first turn it on and plug it in and it connects to the server, after you've put the network information into it, it's going to find this vehicle record based on the VIN number. So if you have a Ward 4 CANSEVER, the VIN number must be in that vehicle. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And once it finds that VIN number, it's going to put the serial number of the CANSEVER inside of the CANSEVER ID field. On the left-hand side, we have custom user fields. So you can change these custom user fields to whatever you would like. The way that you change it is you need to contact an EJ Ward technician. We'll be able to get into the system and change it to whatever you would like to. So you could put maybe a repair location or a PM interval or something like that. On the right-hand side, we have our has GPS installed. This is just like the has CANSEVER. So if you do have a GPS antenna installed to your CANSEVER, you can check this box. It's just for reporting purposes. Then we have our ignore loss of signal. So what ignore loss of signal is if you were to start fueling with your CANSEVER and then let's say you have to pull out the dispenser and put it back in. When you pull out the dispenser, it's going to give you a loss of signal. So ignoring that loss of signal is going to ignore that, and it's not going to cut the transaction. If you have this checked, it will allow you to pull it out and put it into maybe a saddle tank or something like that and fuel there. And then you can put it back into the the regular filler neck of the vehicle and finish the transaction. If you have this unchecked, as soon as you pull it out of the vehicle itself, it's going to completely finish the transaction. You'll have to start a new transaction if you're wanting to fill a saddle tank or something else that the vehicle might have on it. Then the bottom one that we have is allow ignition on fueling. This just means that you can actually fuel the vehicle while the ignition is on. If this is unchecked, you pull up to a pump and your ignition's on, it will not let you fuel, and then you'll have to go and turn off the vehicle and then start a fueling again. But if you have this checked, it's going to allow you to fuel while the ignition's on. A lot of the times this is checked for emergency vehicles, like fire trucks or ambulances that have to fuel while the ignition's on, and they always have to be ready to go. So I don't need that, so we're going to go ahead and keep these two unchecked. And then below that, we have our credit card information. Now this isn't like your regular MasterCard or Visa card. This is for a fleet credit card. So a Voyager card, a Ride Express card, a Comdata card, or any other type that you have. So once you get the system and we're installing the system, that's one of the things our guys will ask, and our project managers will ask, or implementation specialists will ask, is the card format for the credit cards that you're using. So a Voyager card or a Ride Express card. We will put those inside of there, so the card format will be put in. And all you would have to do is drop it down and select that card format. We can have multiple card formats for a customer. And we do have quite a few customers that have multiple card formats. So they can select the correct card format and then put in the account number, the expiration date, and the vehicle credit card number inside of there. And that way they'll be able to use this credit card to actually fuel with. Below that, we have allocation. Allocation is something that's not started immediately with the system. It's something that you do have to have turned on. And this is just a different allocation from what you have up here with the restrictions and readings, as well as down here in the fuel information, your quantities. So here we have our max fueling. It's a max fueling over a given period of time. So we can do this within a day, within a week, or within a month. So let's say I wanted to only have this vehicle to be allowed 64 gallons of fuel for a month or for a week. I can put that in there. Once you set it up with an EJ Ward technician to get the allocation started, then they will ask you, do you want it for a week, a month, or a day? And we'll start up based on the information that you give us. So if I had 64 gallons in here and I save it, the next time I come into this record, it's going to show that I have 64 gallons remaining, and it's going to continually go down as I fuel until the next recycle period. So let's say I have a day. So after 24 hours, it's going to go back up to 64 again. We don't have that turned on in this system, so we're going to keep both at 0, which is unlimited. And then below that, we have our card information. So we have a card information if you have a facility code. This is if you have an HID card or something like that. So I don't. I just have a regular vehicle card. The one thing with vehicle cards is you need to have a card number regardless if you're using a credit card or not, or a CanSeaver. So the CanSeaver has a card number loaded on it. It's not a physical card. It's just a virtual card, if you will. And so we always need to have a card number with a vehicle, and that card number needs to be unique. So the easiest way to do it, if you don't care about the card number, you're not encoding it on a magnetic stripe card, or you're not encoding it on an HID fob or something like that, you can just click on the Assign New Card button. If you click on the Assign New Card button, it's going to go through and find the next available card, and it's going to give them that card number. Underneath that, we have our card status. So the card status must be checked if you want this vehicle to fuel. And then it also shows the card last used and the date issued. So the date issued is going to be today's date. Whenever I clicked on Assign New Card, it filled that out. And then the card last used is going to be the last time that this vehicle fueled with that card number, whether it's the CanSeaver with that card number, or it is the Voyager card or the Ride Express credit card that you have with that card number attached to it. Below that, we have our fueling information. So we have two different fuel types that you can have with max quantities put to them. So the first fuel type, I'm going to go ahead and put unleaded for both of these guys. You can leave the second one as unknown if you want. I usually fill both of them out just to make sure. And then the max quantity is going to be how much fuel they can get per transaction. So 0 is unlimited on both of these, but I'm going to go ahead and put it, typically you want to put it to the tank size or maybe a little bit under or a little bit over. It's really up to you, and you just fill out the max quantity for both of them. Below that, we have our comments and compare section. So these are just 3 fields that you have that you can put whatever you would like into. So we have our billing number here. You can put a billing number in there. We have a compare field where you can put whatever you would like to. And then we have a comments number 3. This is a user field that we can change. So you can call us at, call any of the EJ Ward technicians and they can change the name of that box and you can put it in here. You can put something as like maybe the vehicle is getting paid off at a certain time, or maybe the vehicle got totaled in an accident or something like that. You can put dates in there and just put in all the information that you need to. Use it like a notes field. And then we also have another set of user fields at the bottom with checkboxes. These are all user defined as well. You can call us at EJ Ward and tell us what you want these checkboxes to be. Basically, if it's checked, it's a yes. If it's unchecked, it's a no, or it's on and off. So that's all you have for those checkboxes, and there's 3 of them that you can use. So once we have all this information put in, we can go ahead and click on save and save this vehicle record. Once this vehicle record saves successfully, we can change anything on this vehicle by going back into our grid, and then we can just search for the vehicle. Once we find the vehicle, you want to click on the link underneath the vehicle number or the vehicle pound sign. And then once we're inside of that vehicle record, we can just change what we want to. Once we change that, we can go ahead and go down and click on save. One thing that you do notice that the configurations added once we saved that record. So this is for your CanSeiver. So we have a main configuration, the network configuration, and then we have an immediate configuration if we have one. As of right now, I don't have a CanSeiver on here, and we'll be going over this in later videos, going over the CanSeiver. So we're just going to leave all this set up the way it is. We're going to click on Save. And now we've changed our vehicle. So the only last thing that we have to do is at the very bottom, there is a copy button. So what this is going to do is copy all the non-unique information to this vehicle, and it's going to open up a new record. So let's say you bought 2 or 3 F-150s. You can go ahead and click on copy and add them rapid fire instead of having to go hit add record and type everything out. I have everything set up already. So I have its 2018 Ford F-150. It's a light duty vehicle. I can even go down the max distance, our verify odometer, all that's set up already. And then we also have the fuel type set correctly as well. So you would just fill out the unique information that you need and then save that record rather than having to type out everything and change everything in the entire record again. So that concludes the video on how to add and change vehicles. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.